Then he lowered his voice. "Oh, yes, I meant to tell you. That bit of stem from your upper hall was poison ivy." "Better be careful, if you're susceptible. The commissioner is. I wish you could see him today." And he added, with his attractive smile, "Are you susceptible, Lou?" "You are such a suppressed little person that I can't be sure. But I hope you are, for I'm coming to see you tonight." Chapter 33. He went away at once and I went into the house and up the stairs, dazed and dizzy with this new knowledge, and wondering where it led us. It should have explained so much, and yet it really explains so little. How could I believe that Emily Lancaster was a thief? To accept that was to revalue all the Crescent, to doubt every one of us, and to wonder whether under our cloaks of dignified and careful living we were not all frauds and hypocrites. To suspect Emily was to suspect everybody. I stood in the upstairs hall and gazed about me. The door was open into the guest room and where Holmes had slept, and which still seemed to retain his particular aroma of oil and grease. The sun poured in on the radiator at the end of the hall where I had hidden that glove of Jim Wellington's, through the window from which I had watched Mrs. Dalton making her frantic search of the house that same night. And from the back window in the main hall I could see that room of Holmes's, and his patient experimentation with the book. Holmes had known about the money, and that knowledge had killed him. But how long had he known that Miss Emily was carrying it away? How had he discovered where she was taking it? As I have said before, not only did he occupy a strong strategic position over the garage, but he undoubtedly used no man's land for purposes of his own. Had he, like George Talbot, found some of that dropped money? Or had he followed Miss Emily for some unknown reason, discovered where she went, and then formulated his plan? I stood by that rear window and tried to think it out. There seemed, with the plot he had apparently conceived, no actual reason for killing Miss Emily. Whatever its details were, so far as I knew it could have been carried out as well with Emily alive as if she were dead. And that conclusion of mine was borne out only a few minutes later, while I stood at the window. A woman was slowly crossing no man's land from the direction of Euclid Street, a tall thin woman, not unlike the Talbots' Lizzie, and moving toward the Lancaster house. She had a rolled newspaper in her hand, and even from that distance I could see that she was both uncertain and uneasy. I lost her when she reached the woodshed, but picked her up again as, still moving with a certain unwillingness, she went up the path toward the Lancasters' rear porch. There evidently Ellen turned her away. Mr. Lancaster was very low that morning, and I dare say Ellen, who had been fond of him, was extremely short with her. At all events the woman stood uncertain for a moment and then reached a decision and moved toward our house. All of this had interested me, and I went downstairs so as to meet her before Mary sent her off. She seemed startled when I confronted her. "Are you looking for somebody?" I asked. "I was looking for Miss Lancaster, but the old gentleman is pretty bad. She couldn't see me. Maybe I would do. I'm a great friend of Miss Margaret's." She looked me up and down, with caution rather than suspicion. Then, right there in the path, she opened up her newspaper. What I had expected was the morning paper, with its report on the finding of an unidentified man killed by a hit-and-run driver, and followed by an excellent description of Holmes. But I was mistaken. What she produced was an illustrated section of one of our newspapers, and this she held out to me. "I just saw this picture this morning," she said. I was lining a drawer with the paper, and I saw it. "Would you say this is Miss Emily Lancaster, miss?" I looked at the paper. It was a Sunday morning edition, and the picture she referred to was taken as the family had gone into the inquest on Saturday. It was a very clear picture. In it Margaret's black veil was down, but Emily, emotionally unstrung, had raised her veil and was apparently about to wipe her eyes. In so doing she had seen the cameraman and with her handkerchief in her hand, had hesitated for a fraction of a second. That had been enough, however, and the result was an excellent picture of her. I rolled up the paper and glanced toward our kitchen. Mary was watching with interest from a window. "Come into the house," I said quickly. "It's hot out here, and anyhow I think you have something to tell me." "I have that," was her reply, and she followed me docilely enough around the building and into the library. Once inside I closed the doors.